on Wednesday, the 24th of February. It was a virtual cabinet meeting. In terms of the issues that were covered at cabinet, the cabinet congratulated the class of 2020 who persevered against all odds and obtained a sterling set of matric results. The 2020 exams, which saw an increase in the number of learners who wrote their final examinations when you compare them to 2019, also saw an increase in the number of learners who attained a bachelor admissions pass. Cabinet wishes all learners well as they embark on their respective post-schooling years. In addition to university studies, learners are encouraged to also explore vocational skills training that is available through the Technical and Vocational Education Training Centers, or TVET colleges, as part of strengthening South Africa's technical skills base that is essential for our economy. And learners who do not qualify for TVET colleges or universities are encouraged to explore second chance matric programs. Cabinet also congratulated all officials and management of the Department of Basic Education who, in addition to implementing health and safety measures at schools in 2020 to protect teachers and learners from coronavirus disease pandemic, worked tirelessly to achieve the impressive matric results. Cabinet wishes to express its appreciation to all teachers, school managers, officials within the basic education systems, teacher unions, learner organizations, the learners and their parents for their hard work and collective dedication to ensure that we achieve the kind of results we can be proud of despite the difficulties experienced in 2020. Cabinet is pleased that the 2021 school year has officially started and is confident that the measures in place are sufficient for safe teaching and learning. Everyone has a responsibility to remain vigilant and to strictly adhere to health and safety protocols, which are designed to safeguard the health and safety of teachers, staff, and learners. Cabinet calls on all South Africans to support our learners and to ensure that they succeed. Cabinet also welcomed the 2021 SONA that was delivered by His Excellency President Matamela Cyril Ramaphosa to a hybrid joint sitting of the two houses in Parliament in both of the National Assembly and the National Council of Provinces in Cape Town on Thursday, 11 February 2021. The State of the Nation address and the President's response to the SONA debate offered a progress report on the implementation of the Economic Reconstruction and Recovery Plan and roadmap to the impactful implementation of government's plans. Cabinet is resolute to fully implement all the commitments announced by the President. While acknowledging that the socio-economic challenges confronting us, Cabinet remains confident that we will be able to address through the implementation of the Economic Reconstruction and Recovery Plan and government's program of action with a focus on achieving an inclusive growth and the goals of our Vision 2030 as set out in the National Development Plan. In spite of the setback caused by COVID-19 pandemic that started in 2020, the overall program of action of government remains on track, though somewhat slowed down. On Wednesday, 24th February 2021, the Finance Minister outlined the budget to fund this year's plans. On the National Development Plan Review Report, Cabinet noted the report on the outcomes of the review of the NDP and will endeavor to restore progress on government's contribution towards Vision 2030. The National Planning Commission has already released the NDP review, but they will come and brief you on the details of that review. And on local vaccines development that was announced by the President during the SONA, Cabinet welcomed the efforts and progress made by our scientists, researchers, and medical experts towards a national initiative of developing our own vaccines to deal with current and future pandemics. Our scientists, researchers, and medical experts have been at the forefront of dealing with the COVID-19 pandemic and have led the genomic surveillance of COVID-19 virus, which resulted in the discovery of the 501Y.V2 variant. In this regard, Cabinet would like to congratulate all the South African scientists and researchers who managed to recreate the virus in the laboratory for purposes of enhancing research on the treatment of the COVID-19 pandemic. Cabinet believes that our national science and innovation system is a valuable resource that should be nurtured and developed. Even beyond the research on COVID-19, South Africa's well-known scientists and innovators have delivered cutting-edge technologies such as first world digital laser and the Lodox full-body X-ray scanner that you find in your hospitals and other hospitals across the world. It was a South African invention. On the COVID-19 vaccine rollout, Cabinet appreciated the commencement of the national rollout of the COVID-19 vaccination program, with the first doses of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine being administered to healthcare workers in both the public and private sectors. Since the start of the COVID-19 pandemic, our healthcare workers have been the shield that kept our nation safe. They have faced the virus head-on and have persevered against an unrelenting virus. Their selflessness and selfless sacrifice has saved countless lives, and our nation owes them an immense debt of gratitude. Their vaccination will help protect them against infection and ultimately return our nation to normalcy. Cabinet is pleased that millions of additional vaccines procured through several sources will arrive at varying intervals in the coming months, beginning this weekend. Once the healthcare workers have been vaccinated as part of phase 1 of the vaccination rollout strategy, phase 2 will focus on essential workers and vulnerable groups, which include people over the age of 60 years, people with comorbidities, as well as those living in places such as nursing homes and hostels. Citizens are reminded that vaccination is free and voluntary and remains our best defense against the virus, and coupled with the continued adherence to the health protocols of avoiding large gatherings, wearing of masks in public, sanitizing your hands, and washing our hands with soap, and also maintaining the social distance of at least 2.5 meters. These measures are critical to the health of our nation, which is our joint responsibility and not the sole responsibility of government. The Stats SA released the 4th quarterly labor force survey on Tuesday, 23rd February 2021, and it continues to remind us of the challenges of unemployment facing the country. Cabinet is, however, encouraged by the green shoots that our economy continues to demonstrate amongst the current harsh economic realities. According to the recent statistics, employment increased by 333,000 jobs, with the formal sector contributing the largest at 189,000 jobs between Q3 and Q4 in 2020. Furthermore, there's been a decline in the number of the not economically active by 890,000 in Q4 in 2020 compared to Q3 of 2020. Cabinet remains concerned that the rate at which the economy creates jobs remains slower than the rate the country sheds jobs, because the country shed 701,000 jobs between Q3 and Q4. Although Q4 noted an increase in the unemployment rate, the percentage increase of 1.7% is still lower than the Q3 increase of unemployment of 9% to the unemployment rate. This shows that we are gradually getting to create jobs more vigorously as an economy. It is disturbing that young people constitute the largest pool of the unemployed, and African and colored South Africans, as well as women, remain the most vulnerable groups in the economy of the country. And this strengthens government's resolve to fast-track measures to support and enable the meaningful participation of youth, women, and black people in the economy of the country. This is in line with the recommitment to the economic reform and transformation made by the President in the 2021 SONA. In terms of the national budget, the 2021 national budget, the tabling of the 2021 national budget is an important part of South Africa's open and accountable system of democracy. Following President Ramaphosa's SONA, the 2021 national budget outlines government's financial plan to support the implementation of the National Program of Action as outlined in the 2021 SONA. Cabinet welcomes the 2021 national budget as the best available option in balancing fiscal sustainability whilst funding critical government's priorities such as the procurement of COVID-19 vaccines, supporting the most vulnerable in our society through a comprehensive social assistance program and the economic reconstruction and recovery plan in order to rebuild the economy, support job creation, and attract investment, albeit under a challenging economic environment. And Cabinet welcomed the recent sentencing by the Western Cape High Court of 5 members of a syndicate found guilty of copper cable theft to a cumulative 1,250 years imprisonment. We congratulate our law enforcement agencies for the arrest and successful prosecution of those who are involved in copper cable theft. Cabinet is hopeful that the recent arrests and sentences will send a strong message to those that are responsible for such economic sabotage and crimes and will face that they will face the full might of the law. We call on the public to report criminals to law enforcement agencies. On gender-based violence and femicide, Cabinet welcomed the arrest of the man who brutally attacked Ms. Demakatso Ratzelani, the journalist of Lesedi FM. Also, Cabinet welcomed the sentencing of the murderer of the pregnant, the late Tshegofatso Pule, and the arrest of Mr. Ntutuko Shoba, her boyfriend and father of her unborn child, for allegedly masterminding her murder. Cabinet calls on all criminal justice systems to ensure justice is served on behalf of Ms. Ratzelani and the late Ms. Pule and other victims of gender-based violence and femicide. Ending gender-based violence, it requires all of us to take a stand to stop this scourge. It is a community responsibility. It is a societal responsibility. On SADC Media Awards, Cabinet is calling all South African media to submit their entries for the 2021 SADC Media Awards competition. Interested journalists can access more information about the competition through the SADC website and the GCIS website. The awards promote regional integration and cooperation by encouraging media practitioners in SADC member states to cover issues pertaining to the region. And on Cabinet decisions, the national state of disaster, that's the first decision. Cabinet approved the decision to declare a national state of disaster following the destruction caused by tropical storm Eloise and summer seasonal rains, which left infrastructure and homes damaged in various provinces. This is done in terms of Section 27, subsection 1 of the Disaster Management Act of 2000, Act number 57. The declaration will assist government to enhance existing measures undertaken by various organs of state to mitigate the impact of the national disaster. On the Presidential Remuneration Review Commission report, the Cabinet received and approved the Presidential Remuneration Review Commission report. The PRRC was appointed to investigate the remuneration and conditions of service in the public service and the national and provincial public entities listed in Part A and C, Schedule 3 of the Public Finance Management Act, Act number 1 of 1999. The priority sectors covered in the report are the educators, health, security sector, and public entities that are Schedule 3A and 3B of the PFMA. The report will be made available through the Department of Public Service and Administration. On South Africa's country report to the United Nations on the elimination of all forms of racial discrimination, Cabinet approved the submission of South Africa's 9th to 11th periodic country review report on the UN International Convention on the elimination of all forms of racial discrimination. South Africa signed the ICERD in 1994 and ratified it on December 10, 1998. The report outlines progress made by South Africa in putting in place legislative, judicial, and administrative measures to eliminate all forms of racial discrimination. And this report is submitted when our country has experienced a resurgence of racial discrimination incidences. This periodic report focuses on the progress made in advancing equality, fighting xenophobia and other related intolerances, prevention of hate crimes, and highlights challenges that still remain. After its presentation to the relevant body, the report will be made public. Accession to the International Convention on the Suppression and Punishment of Crime of Apartheid, Cabinet approved the tabling of the International Convention on the Suppression and punishment of the crime of apartheid to Parliament for accession. This is done in terms of Section 231, subsection 2 of the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa of 1996. The convention, amongst others, declares apartheid as a crime against humanity and that it posed a serious threat to international peace and security. Once approved by both houses of parliament, the Department of International Relations and Cooperation will deposit the instrument for accession with the United Nations. Amendment of the agreement between South Africa and the Netherlands on social security. Cabinet approved the amendment of the agreement between the government of South Africa and the government of the Kingdom of Netherlands on social security cooperation. The cooperation agreement on social security was signed in The Hague in May 2001. The agreement facilitates the export of social security benefits for the respective citizens. The Netherlands social security policy has made amendments to its export social security in respect to the Dutch children. The proposed amendment is to align the agreement to these changes. On ratification of the World Radio Communication Conference of 2019, which is commonly known as WRC 19, Cabinet approved submission of the WRC 19 final acts to Parliament for ratification, in line with Section 231, subsection 2 of the Constitution. The WRC 19 is the outcome of the United Nations International Telecommunications Union, commonly known as the ITU conference, that are convened annually to, amongst others, review and revise the radio regulations. South Africa is a signatory to the ITU. Once Parliament ratifies the WRC 19 Final Act, South Africa will amend the National Radio Frequency Plan accordingly. On the revised white paper on national transport policy, Cabinet approved the revised white paper on national transport policy. It replaces the 1996 national transport policy. The revised policy addresses the changes that have emerged over the years in the road, rail, maritime, and aviation spaces. It broadly aligns the country to the international, regional, and continental transportation trends. The policy has gone through wide consultations with all the relevant stakeholders. Once gazetted, the document can be accessed through the Department of Transport's website. On the bills, the first one is the Land Court Bill. Cabinet approved the submission of the Land Court Bill to Parliament for processing. The bill establishes a specialist land court with its judgments, orders, and decisions appealable at the proposed specialist land court of appeal. The bill will resolve the challenges that were experienced under the Restitution of Land Rights Act of 1994, Act number 22, such as backlogs in land claims and dispute resolution mechanisms when disputes arise. It will also contribute immensely in the implementation of the land reform program. On the Gas Amendment Bill of 2020, Cabinet approved the submission of the Gas Amendment Bill of 2020 to Parliament. The proposed bill seeks to align the gas industry to, amongst others, new transportation technologies of natural and unconventional gases that were not catered for in the current Gas Act of 2001. The amendments, which have been fully consulted with all the relevant stakeholders, will contribute to the ongoing investment in infrastructure to ensure diversity of the country's energy mix. The bill will undergo further parliamentary consultation processes to ensure it is widely endorsed for implementation once passed into law. On the Promotion of Equality and Prevention of Unfair Discrimination Amendment Bill of 2001, the Cabinet approved the publication for public comment of the Promotion of Equality and Prevention of Unfair Discrimination Amendment Bill of 2021. The proposed amendments seek to address the weaknesses that are in the Promotion of Equality and Prevention of Unfair Discrimination Act of 2000, Act number 4. The proposed amendments will strengthen its ability to prevent discrimination and promote equality for all South Africans as enshrined in Section 9 of the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa of 1996. The bill will be gazetted and made available through the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development. On the South African Post Bank Amendment Bill of 2020, Cabinet approved the publication of the South African Post Bank Amendment Bill of 2020 for public comment. The bill amends the current South African Post Bank Limited Act of 2010, Act number 9. The bill provides for the establishment of the South African Post Bank Holding Company in terms of the Banks Act of 1990, Act number 94. The company will provide for the inclusion of financially excluded members of the public to participate meaningfully in economic activities. It will also provide a facility for some of government's financial services. In terms of upcoming events, Cabinet will join the world in celebrating International Women's Day on the 8th of March 2021. This day is used to reflect on progress made in achieving gender equality and also coincide with the 25th anniversary of the adoption of the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa. In recognition of the struggle stalwart Mma Charlotte Maxeke's individual and collective contributions to freedom and democracy in South Africa, government declared 2021 the year of Charlotte Maxeke, and to mark the 150th anniversary of her birth, she was a social and political activist with extraordinary courage and intellect. And as we mark the International Women's Day, we will also celebrate Mma Charlotte Manyi Matek. And on the India, Brazil, South Africa, IPSA, Women's Forum Ministerial Meeting, South Africa led by Minister in the Presidency for Women, Youth and Persons with Disability, Ms. Maite Nkwana Mashabane, will participate in the IPSA Women's Forum Ministerial Meeting on 16th March 2021. The event is an important one for South Africa because when he was still chair of the AU in 2020, President Ramaphosa had prioritized women empowerment, entrepreneurship, and the fight against gender-based violence. On Human Rights Month, President Ramaphosa will deliver the virtual keynote address on the 2021 National Human Rights Day commemorations on 21st March 2021 under the theme, The Year of Charlotte Maxeke, Promoting and Protecting Human Rights in the Age of COVID-19. On messages, we'll start with the messages of congratulations. Cabinet extends its congratulations and well wishes to South African filmmakers of the film Address Unknown for making it to the official selection of the 2021 Pan-African Film Festival, which is the America's largest and most prestigious black film festival. The short film, which is dedicated to the people of District 6, was funded by, amongst others, the National Film and Video Foundation, an agency of the Department of Sports, Arts and Culture. Also, Cabinet wished to extend its congratulations and well wishes to our dear sister, Nigerian-born Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, who was elected on consensus on the 15th of February 2021 as the 7th Director General of the World Trade Organization with effect from 1st March 2021. She is the first woman. She is also the first African to serve as the DG of the international organization that deals with global rules of trade between nations. As South Africa, we are especially pleased because we led the campaign to support her candidature on this role. But as a young woman, I am inspired, and I know many South African and African young women are inspired by her leadership, and she is a pathfinder on whose steps we are following. On condolences, Cabinet sent condolences to the family and friends of Thobela Rangwezi Gilbert Shikarenge, who was 87 years old, of the Mpapuri dynasty in Limpopo, a stalwart of the liberation struggle and a fierce opponent against the implementation of the Black Administration Act of 1927. He led the tax levy boycott from 1964 to 1969. He was banished and deported to Kuruman in Northern Cape from 1969 to 1974. Upon his return to his territorial area, he was further imposed with banning order and placed under house arrest in the township of Makwareda in the Sibasa Magisterial District from 1974 to 1976. In 1987, together with other veterans of the struggle and progressive traditional leaders, they founded the Congress of Traditional Leaders, commonly known as Contralesa, and he was elected its national organizer. Cabinet also wished to extend its condolences to the family and friends of the 3 Asalo metal workers, Mr. Lisinyeho Mufukeng, who was 31, Mr. Tami Sampo Mulifi, who was 52, and Mr. Mpo Mishak Madumisa, who was 29, who died tragically when the building in Vanderbijl Park, where they were working, collapsed following an explosion on Wednesday, 17 February 2021. The Department of Employment and Labor Inspection and Enforcement Services have launched an investigation into the incident. Cabinet urges all companies to prioritize employee safety and to constantly test their systems to ensure workers are not placed at unnecessary risk. Cabinet also wished to extend its condolences to the family of Ambassador Themba Mziwake Nicholas Kubeka. He passed away in January in Pietermaritzburg, KwaZulu-Natal, when he was 72. Ambassador Kubeka served as South Africa's ambassador to the People's Republic of China, Denmark, and the Republic of Angola. He also worked as an intergovernmental relations and cooperative government specialist in the office of the chairperson of the National Council of Provinces in Parliament. A member of Umkhonto Wesizwe, Kubeka went into exile in the 70s, known for by his nomgere of Aaron Munisi. He trained in Angola in 1977. May their souls rest in peace. On appointments, and we must emphasize that all appointments are subject to verification of qualifications and the relevant clearance, security clearance. On board of directors, they are board of directors of Amatole Water, and the cabinet approved the appointment of Mr. Ngedisi Molotana, Ms. Wutle Donise, Mr. Abraham Pitaleru, Dr. Msidi Mahaye, Mr. Zamkaya Alisa, Nkosazana Nomatkosa Jongilanga, Dr. Gathia Mahet, Ms. Tabiso Wana, Mr. Mkolisi Jos Kosana, Mr. Mahobi Ramushu, and Ms. Lebohang Litswale. And the chairpersons and vice chairperson of the Road Accident Fund, the board of directors. The chairperson is Ms. Tembi Msibi, and the vice chairperson, Dr. Nomonde Mabuya. And in terms of the South African Post Office, Cabinet approved the appointment of Ms. Nomkita Mona as the Group Chief Executive Officer of the South African Post Office. And the CEO of South African Weather Services, Cabinet approved the appointment of Mr. Mohamed Isham Abeda as the CEO. On the Group CEO of Passenger Rail Agency of South Africa, Cabinet approved the appointment of Mr. Zolani Jose Zile Matthews as the Group CEO. On Centec, Cabinet approved the appointment of Ms. Melanie Rambley as the Chief Financial Officer. On the Chief Ombud Community Schemes Ombud Service of the Department, or under the Department of Human Settlements, Water and Sanitation, Cabinet approved the appointment of Advocate Boyce Mkhize as the Chief Ombud. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister. I think we'll just take one round of questions, firstly from the online. Ignatius?
Thank you, DG. I have just 2 questions.
Can you speak a little bit louder?
Okay, I just have 2 questions, DG.
Okay.
One from John, from ZA Confidential. When will the gas bill be made public? And I have Megan Lawrence from Network 24. Did Cabinet or will Cabinet discuss when South Africa will be moved to a lower level of the lockdown, seeing as our new cases are very low and active cases are back to what it was before the second wave? Thank you, DG.
Thank you. Yes.
Good morning, Minister. Barry Bateman from ENCA. I just want some clarity on, it falls under Cabinet decisions, the national state of disaster. It says Cabinet approved the decision to declare the national state of disaster following the destruction caused by Tropical Storm Eloise. How does this differ from the state of disaster that has been recurringly enacted for the COVID regulations? If you can just, what is the difference essentially, or is this just a method that Cabinet slipped in another extension of the state of disaster? Thank you.
I think these are the only questions, and I don't think I'm going to allow a second round because we've got other commitments, Minister. Minister, you can.
Thank you for the question. The question around the gas bill, you should recall that the gas bill was out for public consultation. When that was done, Cabinet has to take it to Parliament, and now it has been taken to Parliament, therefore it becomes a parliamentary process for them to decide when they will publish it for their own public participation and comments therefore. So that's where it is going to happen from, because in terms of the executive roles, we had already completed our own role. And the two questions around the lockdown, the level of the COVID-19 management and also the Eloise disaster. Cabinet will pronounce itself when we are ready, guided by the advisories that we continue to have from the National Corona Council, Command Council, on what is the situation pertaining to the country, and will announce the appropriate time when will Cabinet make that announcement, or when will the President make that announcement. As of now, we are still on adjusted level 3. In terms of the differences between the coronavirus pandemic management, disaster management, and also the LOEs, you should recall that in terms of the Act, we have to declare each disaster as it happens. So the management of the COVID-19, which is a health disaster, is managed differently from how we manage the natural disasters or any other disaster. There could be a disaster, God forbid, of a train that runs away and a lot of people are injured. That will also be declared a disaster, and it will be managed differently from the disaster that are caused by rains and floods and other things, or wildfires. So that is the difference. So each disaster is announced and proclaimed or declared as it happens. And because when we activate a state of disaster, we enable resources to be available. So we can't say because there's LOEs, we'll continue to use the resources available to treat the COVID-19 pandemic. Government will have to find additional resources to deal with that other disaster. Thank you for that.
Ladies and gentlemen, I think we've come to the end of this post-cabinet briefing, and may I use this opportunity to thank the members of the media for covering it, and thank you very much, Minister. We adjourn.